Hello, 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 and welcome back to yet another college football video, man. This is going to be a long one, but we have a lot to talk about regarding Girl and Week One, and the little bit after Week One. So, yeah, let's start off before we get into all the many picks that I was wrong about. Let's start off with quickly where I was right. First of all, Boise State lost. They were ranked nationally. I did not have them in my top 30. I did not believe in them following the loss of Ashton Ginty. Baylor lost. I didn't have them in my top 30, anywhere near my top 30, but I think Joe Klatt might have had them, or I think he might have had them in his top 25, I think. But yeah, I was not high on Baylor. They lost to Auburn. Uh, UNC, North Carolina. I did not buy into this Bill Belichick nonsense at all in any way, shape, or form. I actually had TCU ranked in my top 30, and we're going to get into why uh, I was right on that. But yeah, the UNC loss, I did not buy into them for 1 second. And then UCLA with Nico. I had zero confidence in Nico or Arizona State whatsoever. Not Arizona State, UCLA, whatever. And yeah, them losing is no shock to me whatsoever. So now that I boosted myself up ever so slightly, let's now get into my top 30 following week one and week zero. I'm going to go in reverse order this time because I have a lot to say about my number 30 and my number 29 teams. So starting off here, let's get into the honorable mentions, the teams that had a good start to the season so far, but did not. Navy, they won their first game of the season. Tulane, they beat Northwestern in dominant fashion. Remember, they got the transfer quarterback from BYU. Pitt looked really good. They could have an explosive offense. Looked good, even though they lost their quarterback. Utah dominated UCLA. I like the way that Utah's offense looks now with their new quarterback. They could be in my top 30 sooner rather than later. Nebraska, they beat Cincinnati in a neutral site. Don't like their quarterback, but they look like they might have a decent little team. Washington looked good against, what was it? I don't know who they played, but they looked good game. And they play Ohio State in week 3, I believe, so that could be a big one. UNLV started off 2-0. It was a rocky start in the week 0 game, but they looked better in week 2, and who knows, they might end up winning the Mountain West. Arkansas 1-0. I think they are going to have a really hard offense. I really like their quarterback, Taylon Green. Auburn, they beat Baylor 1-0. It looks like Jackson Arnold might have figured it out. And if that's the case, Auburn could be the best they've been in years. Missouri 1-0. They looked good. They put up 60 points on a nobody, and they play a very big matchup that I'm going to talk about pretty soon here. And then Vanderbilt won their first game. They're now 1-0. And if they beat Virginia Tech, they could start off 2-0 for back-to-back season. What was the? I mean, shout out to Vanderbilt. They have completely turned around their program, in my opinion. But these are all the teams that did not make my top 30, but I figured I should mention them anyways. Now, the two teams which were dropped from my rankings, ladies and gentlemen, the Army has fallen. But I mean, in all seriousness, how the hell do you lose to Tarleton State? Remember now, Army was their conference championship. Sorry, their conference champions. They were a game away from making the college football playoff over Boise State. How the hell do you lose in double OT to Tarleton? Maybe it's just, their quarterback from last year, Bryson Daly, they lost him. I guess having this new guy. How the hell does Army throw 2 interceptions? How do they throw the ball at all? I mean, it's a shockingly terrible start. Only running for 280 yards in double OT is embarrassingly bad. Um, Zero takeaways. If you lose the turnover battle 3-0, you should probably lose any game. So it's embarrassing. How does Army turn it over 3 times? The defense let me down. It's all shocking. The Army has fallen, and honestly, they're going to have to win like 3 or 4, 5 games in a row. They play like Kansas State next week. They might win that game, but yeah, the Army. I'm done with them. Colorado, you know, they played a pretty good Georgia Tech team in my opinion, but they should have won this game. They forced 3 takeaways on the first 3 drives, and they only got 7 points off of that. And they got the ball to start the second half. They really had every single opportunity here. Caden Salter, he didn't look bad, but it's so weird to me. Colorado almost looks the exact opposite of what they were last season. They had a really good run game this game. The offensive line played well. They didn't turn the ball over, but they had like no explosive passing plays. They had like one pass of like 30 or more yards. It's like the complete it's all substance and no flash now. Whereas opposed to last year, it was all flash, no substance. So it's really crazy how quickly they've changed up. Their defense, their offensive line, their run game. I was right about a lot of aspects there, but they just did not score enough points. And, especially considering all the extra opportunities, including turnovers, their offense was just not good enough in the passing game to win this game. And defensively, they held up for as long as they could, but Georgia Tech ended up running all over them. They did not make a single mistake, it felt like, after those first three turnovers. Haynes King had an amazing game. We're going to get to that. But yeah, Colorado, they wouldn't have to do much to get back into the rankings, but there's a lot of good teams now that have, that are undefeated so far. So I think Colorado could make it back into my rankings. I think they could win the Big 12, to be honest with you. So, yeah, my opinion has changed on Colorado, but not necessarily in a negative way. So getting into my official top 30 here. Alabama, where the hell do I even start? And I'll say this: I really don't have hardly any biases when it comes to college football. I really do try and be as objective as possible because I'm a fairly new college football fan. I've only been watching the last 3 or 4 years. I don't have these deep rooted loves or hatreds for really any team. The only team I really dislike that heavily is Penn State. I've come around on teams that I used to dislike, like Clemson, and I actually am more of a supporter of them now. Or like it's weird, right? I don't have these long standing biases one direction or another. And I was critical of Alabama for a long time when they had Nick Saban, and I've actually been more apathetic or like kind of giving Kalen DeBoer more breathing room since he's gotten there. But this is probably the most inexcusable loss yet. You lose to an unranked Florida State team on the road. I'll give them that, but they went 2-10 last year. They were one of the worst Power Four teams in the country. You had an entire offseason. Keep in mind, there were a lot of Alabama fans. I think his first year, Kalen DeBoer, his first year was unacceptable to them. You have an entire offseason to prepare for this game to showcase how you're going to look different after an extremely disappointing year last season. And you show up and just get manhandled. Truly, they lost the line of scrimmage battle to Florida State. If you would have told somebody that in week 4 of last season, I don't even know what they would have said. But listen, a lot of what I said regarding Alabama is true. I think Alabama fans miss Jalen Milroe right now. And it's not necessarily because he's a better passer than Ty Simpson. But here's the thing: Alabama now has no run game. It took 2 years for Kalen DeBoer to turn Alabama into Washington. Really? I mean, they have, first of all, Ty Simpson, he threw 20 incompletions this game. He did not have a good game. No, like I know the stats don't tell the full story here. He tried, but like he did not have a good performance here. But Alabama has no run game. And I've said this, man. It's the reduction of skilled players and talent at Alabama. And maybe it's because of the transfer portal. Maybe you can't keep that 5-star running back on the bench for 2 years like you used to be able to. But man, it's like, where are all the guys? Like, was Jahmyr Gibbs the last one that they produced in the NFL? It feels like it's going like the third straight season where there are not going to be any of these Alabama running backs getting drafted. And yeah, they had no run game. Jeremy Bernard is like the only guy who showed up last night, or it's not last night, a couple of days ago at this point, but like 9 touches, almost 150 yards. Like, say what you want about Alabama, at least you think Jeremy Bernard now is going to be an impact player for you. But where was Ryan Williams? He got concussed. He had like 5 catches, 30 yards. He really didn't do anything. He had like 2 drops. Not a whole lot of getting Ryan Williams the ball. And defensively, like I said, they got ran all over. Tommy Castellano. And here's the thing: it's the undisciplinedness. They got a massive stop on 3rd down, and then the cornerback shoves Castellanos after the play, or he stands over, or something like that. Some stupid, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty saves Florida State, and they end up scoring a touchdown. Those are the things that don't happen under Nick Saban. And listen, Alabama, they had opportunities this game. They won the turnover battle. They got a special teams turnover that they got them an extra possession. They just couldn't capitalize. Like, if Alabama was even competent, they would have won this game. But they drive down the field on the first possession, score a touchdown, amazing drive, and then I think Florida State scores 24 in a row. In a row. Alabama just completely disappears. The defense, I think that same cornerback got like a late hit on the quarterback. So it's like, I just don't get it, man. Alabama, and here's the thing: this is not a one-off thing. They lost to 3 unranked teams last year. Now, it was Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and Michigan, but still, like this is the 4th time in 14 games that Kalen DeBoer has lost to an unranked team. This is unacceptable, man. And I'm starting to, I dropped Alabama. They're down to 30. They were my number 6 ranked team in the country. And listen, when a team proves me right, like Ole Miss did in the past or Washington from a couple years ago, I tend to be more supportive of them going forward, right? But when a team lets me down, like Alabama just did, they are completely out of my good graces. I have nothing left positive to say about Alabama. And here's the thing now. They're like 5-5 in their last 10. Alabama is no longer a scary, dominant anything. The dynasty is over. It's up for debate if they're even still a good program. They're 5-5 in their last 10, I think. 4 unranked losses the last 14 games. So, like it's going to take multiple big wins, ranked wins, for me to even consider putting Alabama near my top 20. So, yeah, I I still kept them in the rankings because I'm come on, Alabama versus UNLV. Who would you take? Alabama versus BYU. Alabama versus Tulane. Now listen, since they keep losing to unranked teams, they could lose to any of these guys. But it's just I would still take Alabama over anybody in my unranked section, but not by much. And they might lose. They love to lose to unranked teams. So yeah, Alabama is just absolutely. If you play good defense, you're probably going to beat Alabama. Like that. That is the common trend that I've noticed here. So yeah, nothing good to say about the Crimson Tide. They're at number 30 for me. Kansas State, they're damn near in the same boat, man. It's like so let's talk about this week 1 game, or week 0 rather, against Iowa State. It was a close back and forth game. Both teams turned it over multiple times. Nobody could hang on to the football. It was a very sloppy game. Kansas State made the more splash plays. Avery Johnson, such a weird performance, man, because the numbers look like he had a great game, but it was so many overthrows and inaccurate passes, and it's just like the offense looked so choppy. It was really weird, man. Both teams struggled to run the ball, really. Jace Brown had a really good performance, but Kansas State, I was more impressed by Kansas State's defense than I was by Iowa State defense in that game, but it's weird. It was a close loss. I didn't really hold it that much against Kansas State. I did pick Kansas State to win and to win the Big 12 for that matter, but I didn't feel too negatively about them following that game. It's what happened in week 1, man, against, was it North or South Dakota? Let me pull it up here. Because Kansas State had an absolutely embarrassing performance. It was supposed to be a major bounce back game against a nobody FCS team. At home, by the way. At home was Kansas State. And they beat, I think it was North Dakota. Not the North Dakota State team that produces NFL prospects every year. I'm talking about North Dakota, the team you've never heard of, the FCS team. And Kansas State barely scrapes out a 38-35 win at home. They have to score a game-winning touchdown pretty much to come out and survive this game. Absolutely embarrassing. And it's a similar thing where, I guess 38 points, you should be happy with the offense. Avery Johnson had a really good game statistically. But defensively, you're telling me you're giving up 354 yards to North Dakota? You're letting North Dakota throw 252 yards on you? I struggle to understand that, man. You let North Dakota run for 4 touchdowns? Shocking. Truly shocking, man. I don't even know what to say at this point about Kansas State. The Big 12 is wide open. That's what I got to say following this performance. I have no idea who's going to come out on top now. And Kansas State, them winning that game by 3 points in the fashion that they did is worse than losing. If they would have lost to like Utah, for example, by 3 points, that would have been less damaging to Kansas State, in my opinion, than beating North Dakota by 3 points. So my opinion of Kansas State is currently in the fucking toilet, and I have no confidence in them going forward whatsoever. So my number 6 and my number 12 team are completely cooked, in my opinion, after week 1. You love to see it. Now, getting into some positives. Kansas, man. I was quiet this offseason on Kansas because I didn't want to get hurt again. I was extremely high on Kansas. I had Kansas as like my number 13 team in the country going into last season. Now, that was way too high. But like they showed down the stretch, they beat like 3 or 4 straight Big 12 conference contenders in the second half of last season. So like they showed what they could have been, but they just lost too many games early in the season. Jalen Daniels turned the ball over way too often. It looks like, though, we are going to get a healthy, non-turnover prone Jalen Daniels here in this final college season, and they have looked great out the gate. I mean, 77-14 is the combined way that they've won these first two games. Jalen Daniels has looked amazing. They have a really interesting run game between Daniel Highshaw and LaShawn Williams, I believe, the transfer from Iowa. Three players with over 100 yards and a touchdown, and defensively, holding each opponent to just 7 points. Now, listen, it's Wagner, but I mean, Fresno State, one of the better Mountain West teams, I feel like, at least programs, that is. 6 sacks, 3 takeaways from the defense. I really like what I'm seeing from Kansas so far. I think they were the best team that played in week 0, quite frankly. And listen, they play a massive game on the road this week at Missouri. I am going to be watching that game like a hawk. The winner of that game is absolutely going to be ranked nationally. They should be ranked nationally. And yeah, if Kansas can pull that off, oh brother, I feel like they're going to be the Arizona State of this season if they can go on the road and beat Missouri. It doesn't matter to the Big 12; they have still not played a Big 12 game. But I just feel like if they can start this stretch off 3-0, man, please watch out for Kansas. And that's a massive game between them and Missouri. Next up, I have Louisville at 27, dropping one spot. They dominated Eastern Kentucky. They were leading massively. But the problem for me is that Miller Moss, the transfer quarterback from USC, Miller Moss, he threw 2 picks in this game. And I don't like it, man, because I feel like turnovers were the problem for him at USC last season. And him throwing 2 picks in this week 1 game against Eastern Kentucky, even though they dominated, is concerning to me. So I don't love that. But besides that, they completely dominated this game. They ran the ball over. And listen, Isaac Brown, man, this guy, Isaac Brown, I said it in my last rankings video, but this guy is an absolute monster. 6 rushes for 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. This guy, I think, is running for like 9 yards per carry in his college career so far. I don't know what it is, but he is like the most explosive player I've ever seen. So it's insane. But yeah, and defensively they were amazing. But yeah, keep an eye on Louisville. They play JMU this week. So Alonzo Burnett coming to, is it in Louisville? Let me see. Yes, it is. Alonzo Burnett coming to town. We'll see how they handle that. And I will be watching that as well if I can. Georgia Tech beat Colorado on the road. Really good win, really slept on win from week 1. Now, like I said earlier in the Colorado section, they did turn it over on the first 3 drives of the game. It was shocking. It was uncharacteristic. I believe the commentator said that Georgia Tech fumbled 3 times all of last season, and they fumbled on the first 2 drives against Colorado. So I don't understand how the hell that happened. But listen, they got the shit back on track fairly quickly here. Haynes King with an amazing performance, 300 yards, 3 times. He ran for like 150 yards this game. It was crazy to see. Jamal Haynes had a really solid performance. And defensively, considering all of the things that went wrong, this could have been a blowout win for Colorado if the Georgia Tech defense was not on point this game. So I think I saw a lot from Georgia Tech this game in terms of like them being able to handle adversity and things like that. So I am way more confident in Georgia Tech now going forward. And listen, man, we're going to get to it as this video goes on, but the ACC might be loaded this year. Like, there are like so many teams. Like, don't get me wrong, the bottom of the ACC is garbage. Stanford, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, like those teams are garbage. But the middle of the pack in the ACC is so interesting. Like, I am going to be intensely watching to see which one of these teams are going to like between Georgia Tech, Louisville, we're going to get to Duke later on. Like, which one of these teams are going to end up winning 10 games? Who is going to play Clemson in the ACC championship game? Is it even going to be Clemson? Who knows? I am very excited to watch the ACC this year. But yeah, TCU at 25. North Carolina is not one of those good teams that I was just mentioning. TCU absolutely dominated them. And yeah, it started off shaky. UNC drove down, scored a touchdown their first drive. Josh Hoover threw an early interception, but it was all over after that. The TCU defense put the clamps on North Carolina. Josh Hoover in the offense started carving it up and running for 258 yards. That is shocking to me. I was not expecting that whatsoever. But yeah, Kavorian Barnes, and I think it was Jordan Swimer. They had big games here. And yeah, TCU, very slept on, really not talked about at all in the Big 12, especially compared to teams like Texas Tech or even Iowa State. So again, man, I think the ACC and the Big 12 are both going to be more entertaining than the Big Ten this season. That's just my opinion. But yeah, TCU. I'm really glad that I ranked them last week because now I can come up here and act like I knew what I was talking about. So yeah, TCU belongs in my top 25 currently. Number 24 is where I have Illinois. I understand that I am way lower on Illinois than I am than most people are. A lot of people have Illinois in their top 11 or 12, and a lot of people are picking Illinois as kind of the Indiana of this season, like the Cinderella story in the Big Ten that's going to end up winning 10 games. But I really don't see it, man. I feel like Luke Altmaier is like a Dollar General Drew Aller. So take that for what you will. They ran the ball really well. I think they had a guy, the running back, like Jaden Loftley, some guy like that, had a really big game, but they played nobody. The defense played really well, but again, it's like I have to see what Illinois does against a real big. And I'm not talking about anybody. I'm talking about the Ohio State, the Penn State, the Oregon, somebody like that, because I don't see it with Illinois. I think they lost way too much from last season, and I don't know if they're going to be as good this season. So I didn't see anything from Illinois in week one that makes me change my opinion of them. Florida, same thing. They dominate. It's Long Island. Really? How do they even have a college? But yeah, these types of teams, like if a team played some nobody and they dominated, I'm really not going to spend that much time on it. So yeah, Illinois, Florida, both did what I expect them to do. Duke now, it was 10-10 at halftime against Elon, and they went bananas in the second half. Darian Minza looks like potentially the number one transfer portal acquisition in the entire country for Duke here. He lit it up in his first game. They ran the ball effectively. 5 players over 50 yards. The defense shut down Elon in the second half, that is. But I'm telling you, man, this Manny Diaz defense combined now with a good quarterback. Because listen, what's the guys? Malik Murphy really struggled last year as the Duke quarterback. Having Mensa back there, I really do think Duke, like of all these teams that I'm talking about, Louisville, Georgia Tech, I really do think Duke could be the pick. And listen, Duke plays Illinois this week. It's at Duke. I'm picking Duke to win this game. Illinois are like 3.5-point favorites on the road, but I'm taking Duke, man. Two really good defenses. I believe in Darian Mensa way more than Luke Altmaier. I think Duke might have some more weapons on the outside. I am going to be intently watching this game and hope that I'm proven right here. But yeah, Duke versus Illinois. Keep an eye on that, please. And Florida, they play USF, who put the beats on Boise State in week one. So a lot of if you're a real college football fan, there are a ton of under the radar sneaky good matchups this week outside of just Oklahoma, Michigan. Next up, I have Texas Tech at 21. Similar to the last 3 teams, my opinion of them does not really change at all based on the opponent they played in week one. But yeah, running for 300 yards at over 10 yards per carry is pretty insane. So yeah, shout out to Texas Tech. They remain at 21 for me. Florida State, obviously, I recapped the game pretty in depth here during the Alabama portion, but give a lot of credit where credit is due because Florida State has been the meme, the laughing stock of college football here for the last year and some change. So them getting a massive win like this is just it means so much. And also, you consider the fact that Alabama is the team that kind of kept them from the college football playoffs 2 years ago. I'm sure that was a little bit of a sweet revenge there. Thomas Castellanos, I mean, he was getting clowned on for the comments this offseason about Alabama can't stop him and things like that. And he backed it up, man. He went out there. He had a really good game, and he led Florida State to the win. They ran the ball all – and here's the thing, man. The interesting thing is that this was not some historic great performance by FSU. FSU made many mistakes in this game. They didn't have some generational performance by a running back or receiver. They didn't have a 3 takeaway type of they lost the turnover battle 1-0. Like Florida State was not even on their A game here, and they still beat Alabama by double digits. That's the crazy thing that people aren't really talking about. So if Florida State can even take it to another level, that's another wrench in the ACC. The ACC is going to be so ridiculously entertaining this year. I cannot wait to watch it. But yeah, I have Florida State now as my number 20 team. Tennessee, this might be another thing where I could have been wrong about. I wasn't necessarily doubting Tennessee, right? But the thing is, as I was going to wait and see. I wanted to see how they look now with Joey Aguilar as the quarterback. And here's the thing. I am already willing to say that Joey Aguilar is better than Nico. And especially, he will be better in this offense than Nico was. I just felt like Nico was way too slow at processing things. I don't think he got the ball out on time. I think he was way too inaccurate. And listen, Aguilar, he had some issues here. There were some overthrows. There were some drops by the receivers. They're not on the same page yet. But with that being said, 45 points on Syracuse, man. And listen, Syracuse won 10 games last year. I mean, listen, compare the quality of opponent between Syracuse and Florida State. Theoretically, Tennessee should have had a way tougher time, but they blew out their opponent. Alabama lost theirs, and yeah, I just think like we knew the run game right was going to be good. They have a trio of really interesting, good young running backs. 3 players with over 95 yards and a touchdown this game, and the defense 5 sacks, 2 takeaways. I mean, they did enough to really shut down Syracuse at times. So I'm really interested to see how Tennessee looks now, knowing that they're going to have a competent quarterback back there. So, yeah, really interested to see what Tennessee does moving forward here. Number 18, I have Arizona State. They beat Northern Arizona a little bit too close for comfort, but they had a comfortable lead the majority of the game. Sam Levitt looked really good, man. 330 yards, 4 touchdowns. They ran the ball well, in part because of Sam Levitt. They also had Malik Brown. Who was the other guy? It was Levitt, Brown, and some other guy. I think he's the actual number one running back. I forget his name. But Jordan Tyson, man, what an amazing performance from him. He is really trying to push his name into the first round of the NFL draft. And it looks like the Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson connection this year is going to be in full swing. And yeah, I think Arizona State certainly is going to be a player in the Big 12 again. They jump up one spot for me. Indiana, now they struggled in this game against Old Dominion. Well, I say struggled. I guess they just couldn't get the ball in the end zone. I mean, they had like look at the they had like over 500 yards, 309 rushing yards. Mendoza didn't have a big game, but they had like 3 players over 70 rushing yards. They ran the ball all over Old Dominion. It's kind of shocking that they only had 27 points here. But the defense played really well. So I guess you could say it's a bad, but I mean, the defense played well. They ran the ball well. I'm not concerned about Indiana. Yeah, I'm just waiting to see how they look. The second tier, right? The second tier in the Big Ten, right? The top tier includes Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon. The second tier includes like Indiana, Illinois, Michigan. Who wins that race? I guess is the real big question of the Big Ten this year. But I'm not too concerned about where Indiana stands. Iowa State, they obviously beat Kansas State in week 0. I already talked about that game, but I thought Rocco Beck looked good. I thought the pass game looked better than I expected it to be, considering they lost their top 2 receivers to the Texans. And defensively, they shut down Kansas State when they needed to, and they also blew out their week 1 opponent, unlike Kansas State. So I do have Iowa State ranked at number 16, and I do believe they are currently my highest ranked Big 12 team. Number 15, this is where I have SMU. They beat their cupcake opponent very easily. I thought Kevin Jennings played well. They ran the ball pretty effectively. Defensively, 3 takeaways. Romello Brinson, the receiver, had a really nice game. The problem for me, or the concern, if you will, is the turnover aspect here. I thought that's what killed them down the stretch last season, and unfortunately, it looks like they have not yet shaken that turnover bug. So we'll see if they can clean that up. Yet another. I almost forgot about SMU in the ACC. I mean, man, Clemson, Miami, SMU, Duke, Florida State, Louisville, Georgia Tech, so many ACC teams that could potentially win 10 games, man. It's so interesting. But yeah, let's talk about 13 and 14 together here because they play in week 2 in Oklahoma. Is it in Oklahoma? Let me make sure. Oh yeah, by the way, Iowa State plays Iowa next week. Very interesting here. And SMU hosts Baylor, and also Arizona State plays Mississippi State. I've been forgetting to read all these interesting week 2 matchups here. But yeah, Michigan on the road at Oklahoma. Both teams won their week 1 game, but I thought Oklahoma looked way better because listen, tell me, am I right or am I wrong? A couple of years ago, Michigan would have been winning this game against New Mexico like 30-0 or 30-3. Them giving up 17 to New Mexico is sneaky concerning for me, in my opinion. Now, Justice Haynes, he had a masterful game. I mean, he looks like he could potentially be a star running back, unlike, Donovan Edwards last season. And Oklahoma, John Mateer, 416 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had a classic Washington State John Mateer performance. The problem is they were playing a Washington State John Mateer level opponent. Now, the Oklahoma State run game, very concerning to me. You have to run for way more than 100 yards if you're playing Illinois State. And if you're Michigan, you got to hold New Mexico to way less than 17 points. So both teams here have some areas of concern, in my opinion. Um, I think the Oklahoma pass game might be the best that it's been, since the Lincoln Riley era. And I am picking Oklahoma to win this game in week 2. I think Bryce Underwood, I think he's going to struggle against an elite defense more than Oklahoma's John Mateer is going to struggle against the Michigan defense. So really looking forward to this game, man. The winner of this game almost certainly is going to be ranked like number 10, right? But it's like Oklahoma plays a really tough schedule. So if they were to get this Michigan win, it could set them up. This is the thing. If they get this Michigan win, I believe that means very likely they could be 5-0 by the time the Texas game rolls around. And if that's the case, oh man, what a huge game that would be. Almost certainly both of those teams would be ranked like the top 6 or top 7. So yeah. Massive week 2 here with major implications moving forward. Number 12, this is where I have Ole Miss. I thought they looked really. Look, they had like 700 yards in this game. And here's the thing, man. I think Lincoln Riley has pretty much like just mastered his craft at this point. I think he is operating at peak efficiency at Ole Miss. I think he has the offense playing pretty much as good as he can make it without having like a generational player at any sort of position. Austin Simmons, good game. 2 interceptions is not what we want to see against Georgia State. You got to get that cleaned up. But yeah, they ran the ball incredibly well. 4 players over 75 yards and a touchdown. Harrison Wallace, the transfer, looked good. Their running back, I think his name was Kawan Lacey, had like 3 touchdowns. And defensively, shut down. Absolutely shut down defense here by Ole Miss defensively. And here's the thing, man. With their offense playing as well as it is, if Lincoln Riley can get that defense that he got from them last year, they should be a playoff team. Like it's a no-brainer, man. Like they're consistently a 9 or 10 win team every season under Lincoln Riley. And if that defense plays at that level, that's the key to taking them to the next level. And they play Kentucky this week. We'll see if they can get their revenge game. But Kentucky, I think they're not really good right now. But I thought that last season, and they lost to them. So we'll see what happens this week with Ole Miss. Number 11, this is where I have Texas A&M. They beat UTSA at home. You could make the argument they should have beat UTSA at home by way more. But, Marcel Reed in the passing game looked really, really impressive. I don't know why they didn't run the ball more. 5 yards per carry. They only had 110 yards, but, good efficiency, I guess. Mario Craver, 8 catches, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Really good performance there by him. Defensively, though, 373 yards allowed against UTSA. Very concerning. That is not what I was expecting out of a Mike Elko defense. But, the trade-off there is that their pass game looked way better than I expected, and their defense looked worse than I expected. So, I call it a wash in my opinion. Number 10, I have South Carolina. They beat Virginia Tech in the opener. Lenora Sellers looked good. Nick Harbor looked really good. They did take that touchdown off the board from him, which I thought was a touchdown. Defense, 2 sacks, 2 takeaways. It looks like South Carolina might still have enough left over from that 2024 defense. They still got Dylan Stewart, I believe is his name. He had a good game. So, all they really need, honestly, next to Lenora Sellers is just one big weapon. Last year was Rocket Sanders. If they can beat Nick Harbor this year, I expect South Carolina to win 9 or 10 games and make a strong push for the playoffs. And listen, that since Clemson lost in week 1, if South Carolina were to beat them in the final week of the season, would that not be like almost identical from what happened last year? Clemson loses to a SEC team in week 1, and they lose to South Carolina again in week 12. Like, that would be insane. But yeah, South Carolina, number 10, they pretty much control their own destiny when it comes to making the college football playoff, in my opinion. Number 9, I have Notre Dame. Listen, 4 of my top 2 teams both lost, and 4 of my top 6 teams all lost in week 1. It was not great for me. But, Notre Dame, they lost on the road at Miami. I'll say this. I thought the play calling from Notre Dame was terrible in this game. I thought that due to the play, because they would not let this guy, CJ Carr, throw down the field at all in the first. Like, I thought he was ass because the play calling told me that they didn't trust him to complete a pass. But as the game went on, you're like, oh, hold on, this guy can actually play a little bit. But so what the hell was wrong with the play calling here? I had no idea. But Notre Dame's offense, they just looked sloppy. They did not look like they normally looked last season. They couldn't really run the ball without Riley Leonard here. Jeremiah Love, I'll say this. He's a talented player, but I'm getting real heavy Donovan Edwards vibes off of Jeremiah Love this season. I just don't think he's going to be able to live up to these expectations. And honestly, I really feel like a lot of this was just off of that one run he had against Indiana in the playoffs, man. Because after that, he didn't even do a whole month or a whole lot against Georgia or against Ohio State or anything like that. I don't really see what most people see when it comes to Jeremiah Love being like one of the best players or the best running backs in the country, really. But defensively, you know, are you happy with that performance defensively if you're Notre Dame? I'm not so sure. Did they force a turnover? They didn't. You would assume, right, that if you play Carson Beck, you would like to get an interception. They did not get one. They let up 27 points. They definitely put themselves in a position to come back and win the game, but they did not end up doing it. So tough loss, week one. Obviously now, it's interesting because due to Notre Dame's situation, they pretty much have to go undefeated the rest of the year, right? Because you would assume a two-loss Notre Dame team probably doesn't make the playoffs, right? So very interesting. And they play A&M in a couple weeks, I think. So that would be a huge game. So Notre Dame, I mean, respect them for playing a tough opponent in week one, but it has kind of backfired now, and they have a tough road ahead of them going forward here. Oregon, they beat a nobody. Dante Moore looked good. Mekhi Hughes, I was expecting to see a heavy dose of him. He only got like 2 touches in this game. I don't know if he got hurt. I hope he's healthy, but that is very concerning because, like, if they lose, they already lost Evan Stewart. So if they were to lose Mekhi Hughes as well, that would be very difficult to overcome for them. But they ran the ball very well without him. They didn't have any, big time performances here from any running backs or receivers. Defensively, they played really well, but yeah, they beat a nobody. So not going to spend too much time on that. Clemson lost to LSU at home. The offense struggled massively. The offensive line looks like a major red flag. And even more than that, the running game. Dabo, what the hell are you doing? You go into the transfer portal for a couple like gimmicky players that don't even make much of a difference, but you can't go in and get any running backs. You don't have any running backs on the team. Their number one rusher from this game was a converted receiver who had like 16 yards. Clemson has no run game. It is a major concern and might hold them back, going forward. I mean, they could not do anything to LSU here. All of the pressure was on Cade Klubnik, and he just couldn't deliver. The LSU defense played extremely well in this game. They had 0 plays over 70 yards. And, yeah, man, very concerning if you're a Clemson fan because I just mentioned how all of this ACC competition looked really good in week one. And now you're looking at Clemson with apparently an offensive line and a running back problem. So they're going to have to figure that out quick, fast, and in a hurry. Defensively, I thought they played well. 2 takeaways. They got a sack. But honestly, everything considered, Clemson being at home and the refs taking away that touchdown from LSU that was obviously a touchdown, in my opinion, Clemson really should have won this game. And the fact that they didn't is a major concern, a major red flag to me. And listen, this is proof that I do not hold these long-standing biases or grudges against teams. Because if this was me 2 years ago, I would be shitting all over Clemson right now. And, I would have dropped them outside my top 20. But I still have some belief and confidence in Cade Klubnik in their defense, if nothing else. So I'll give them some time and some grace to correct the issues that we saw in week one. Number 6, I have Georgia. They beat nobody. Gunnar Stockton looked good, though. He looked better than I expected him to. Zachariah Branch, also you can make the case he could be their most explosive, their best wide receiver weapon that they've had in a very long time, since George Pickens maybe. And yeah, Georgia beat nobody. They were up 1 spot to my number 6 team. Miami. Listen, man, shout out to Miami. I'm telling you, man, do not give up on this Miami offense just because they lost Cam Ward and a bunch of their weapons. I think Carson Beck is really going to step in here and have a career best season. I was impressed with how well they ran the ball on Notre Dame. Malachi Toney kind of emerged in this game as a kind of out of nowhere true freshman, shockingly good receiver. C.J. Daniels had a ridiculous touchdown catch. And defensively, man, they played really well. 2 takeaways, 3 sacks. They shut down the Notre Dame run offense. So, I mean, it feels like this is the year, right? Listen, last year, they probably should have, they should have made the playoffs, should have gone way farther than they did. But this year, it feels like, maybe Cristobal is getting them to that Ole Miss kind of point where it's like, no matter what, they're going to be a 10-plus win team every year. And I think this could be the first year that they make the playoffs. And, They didn't get to play against Clemson last year in the ACC championship game. So we'll see what happens if they end up meeting this season. Number 4, I have LSU coming off that massive win over Clemson on the road, man. Uh, I'm impressed, man. I think LSU has answered a lot of questions that they had last season. The defense, that was the best LSU defensive performance I've ever seen. The week 1 stuff with Brian Kelly and LSU not being able to win in week 1, they shut that down. The run game I thought looked pretty impressive. I think Caden Durham is a real interesting player for them. Aaron Anderson also had a good game. I think he's their true number 1 receiver. And Garrett Nussmeier, I thought he looked good. He played through injury. He got rocked in like the third quarter. I think he came back and finished the game. And I really think LSU is a real problem in the SEC. And I mean, I got them over Georgia because they had a massive week 1 win. So keep an eye on LSU, obviously. Number 3, this is where I have Penn State. They beat a nobody. It was a typical Drew Aller vanilla mayonnaise type performance. The run game was pretty disappointing. I mean, I would like to see them run for way more than 3.8 yards per carry against a team like Nevada. But Trevor Pena, the transfer receiver, he had a really good game. Kyron Hudson also had a pretty good game, and defensively they played well. So I mean, I'm not going to pay too much attention to it. Texas, you could make a strong case that Texas should drop farther, probably below teams like LSU or things like that. But Texas was my number 1 team. They are still my pick. I'm not changing my pick just because of week 1. They are still my pick to win the national championship. But it was a bad performance. It was a really bad performance by Arch Manning. You know, he had all this time to prepare. You know, it's not his first game. It's his first road game, but it's not his first game. He has a connection with these receivers. And for me, it was the accuracy. It was him on his first pass skipping the ball 3-4 yards short. It was open receivers, him just missing them. It was he looked like it was his first college game ever. So I was just expecting him to look way more polished and way more ready to play than he looked in this game. And that was shocking to me. The defense played really well, though. And I think that's a major good sign. Because listen, say whatever you want. This is the toughest game on Texas' schedule. They got to go on the road and play Georgia. That's also a really tough game. But week 1 against Ohio State, in my opinion, absolutely the toughest game on the Longhorn schedule. And they have a lot of cupcake, easy SEC nobody games on their schedule this year. I expect the bare minimum, like the worst case scenario, them to go 9-3. So it's like I'm not too concerned because they lost this game. I think they'll get better. I think they ran the ball surprisingly well in this game. So maybe that could be a change we see for them going forward. But yeah, I'm not gonna, abandon Texas now just because they lost to the national champions on the road in week 1. So yeah. But for Ohio State, on the flip side of that coin, really impressed by this performance here. Julian Sand, they actually did have a quarterback in his first ever start, and they did beat Texas. They struggled to run the ball, struggled to throw the ball, but C.J. Donaldson came in big. He was the grinding running back for them. Cardinal Tate had a massive touchdown that ended up winning the game. And defensively, Ohio State, amazing performance here. I had a major question. How is the defense going to look? New defensive coordinator, all these stars from last year, Denzel Burke, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Cody Simon, all these guys gone. How are they going to look? And they answered all those questions, and they passed with flying colors. 4 turnover on downs by this Ohio State defense, multiple goal line stands. I mean, it was incredible to watch. They should have had multiple interceptions, by the way. They took away one that Arch threw that I thought was absolutely a pick, but is what it is. Ohio State now is the number 1 team until they lose. They control their own destiny, and yeah, that will not be changing anytime soon, in my opinion. So that was a massive video right there. I'm looking forward to week 2 now. Will not be nearly as eventful as week 1 because there were like 4 or 5 top 10 matchups. Well, 3 top 10 matchups in week 1. And thank you for watching. If you're still here, leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new, and I will see y'all very shortly. Peace.